It was a cold winter evening, and the streets of the city were cloaked in a heavy blanket of snow. James, a young waiter at Bella's Bistro, finished his shift just as the last customer left the restaurant. The bistro, a cozy establishment with warm lights and the aroma of fresh bread and herbs, was one of the few places in the neighborhood still open that late. As James cleaned the last table and prepared to leave, he noticed a figure huddled near the restaurant's entrance. It was an elderly man wrapped in layers of tattered clothing, his face red from the biting cold. James had seen him around the neighborhood before, always sitting on the same park bench, clutching a small bag of belongings. "Good evening," James said softly as he stepped outside. The man looked up, his eyes filled with a mix of gratitude and exhaustion. "Evening," the man replied, his voice hoarse. "I'm not here to bother anyone. Just needed a spot to stay out of the wind." James nodded, understanding the man's hesitation. He hesitated for a moment, then said, "Have you had anything to eat today?" The man shook his head. "Not since yesterday morning." James glanced back at the restaurant where a few leftover pastries and a pot of soup still sat in the kitchen. He knew the owner, Bella, wouldn't mind if he offered them to someone in need. "Wait here," James said, and went back inside. He quickly filled a container with the soup, packed some bread and pastries, and brought them out. "Here you go," James said, handing the food to the man. "It's not much, but it should help." The man's hands trembled as he accepted the food. "Thank you, young man. You don't know how much this means." James smiled. "What's your name?" "Walter," the man replied. "Nice to meet you, Walter. I'm James." Walter nodded and began eating, savoring every bite. James watched for a moment, his heart heavy. He couldn't shake the feeling that he needed to do more. "Do you have somewhere warm to stay tonight?" he asked. Walter shook his head again. "Shelters are full and it's too cold to stay outside. But I'll manage. Always do." James thought for a moment. The small storage room in the back of the bistro wasn't much, but it had a space heater and a cot used by the staff during late-night shifts. "Wait here," he said again, and went to speak with Bella, who was finishing paperwork in her office. "Bella," James began, "I was wondering if it would be okay for Walter to stay in the storage room tonight. It's freezing outside, and he has nowhere else to go." Bella looked at James, her expression softening. "Of course, James. Bring him in." James led Walter inside, guiding him to the small room. "It's not much," he said, "but it's warm." Walter's eyes welled up with tears. "Thank you, James. I've never met someone as kind as you." Over the next few days, James and Bella worked together to help Walter. They contacted local organizations, found him a spot in a transitional housing program, and even helped him reconnect with a sister he hadn't seen in years. Walter's gratitude was immeasurable, and James felt a sense of fulfillment he'd never experienced before. Months later, Walter returned to Bella's Bistro, this time as a volunteer helping others in need. His transformation was a testament to the power of kindness and compassion. James and Walter remained close friends, their bond a reminder that even the smallest acts of generosity can change lives.